My daughter-in-law stole my savings, but she never understood one simple truth. She never understood that silence is not surrender. The grocery store was crowded that morning, the air filled with the smell of fresh apples and detergent from the cleaning eyes. The fluorescent lights hummed softly overhead like a tired insect trapped inside glass. People moved slowly, carts bumping gently against each other. Strangers sharing invisible space without acknowledging the weight of their own lives. That was where it happened. Her voice cut through the ordinary noise like a knife finding weakness in soft flesh. That old woman doesn't need money anyway. She said it loudly. Not as a whisper. Not as a private complaint. But as a statement she believed was true enough to assure with the world. I remember the way she laughed after saying it. Not the laugh of someone amused. The laugh of someone certain of their superiority. The cashier froze for a second, fingers hovering over the card machine. The woman behind us shifted her weight from one foot to another. Someone cleared their throat awkwardly near the magazine rack. I stood there holding my shopping cart. My hands were steady, at least on the outside. Inside, something very old and very quiet cracked open. I am 68 years old. A retired school teacher. A widow. I have spent most of my life being patient. Teaching children how to read before they hate learning itself. Helping students who stuttered through their multiplication tables. Standing in front of classrooms filled with noise. And watching chaos slowly turn into understanding. My life was never loud. But it was never weak. I raised 2 children after my husband died early. There were nights when I counted coins on my kitchen table, deciding whether I could afford milk tomorrow or if I should wait another day. I wore coats from thrift stores because winter did not care about dignity. I skipped new shoes so my daughter could learn piano. I worked extra tutoring hours after school so my son could buy textbooks. I never complained. Not once. Because I believed love was not measured by comfort but by sacrifice. When my son married her, I thought my life would finally find peace. I had always wanted a daughter I never had. I wanted someone to share recipes with. Someone who would sit in the kitchen, while I stirred old family stew recipes, passed down from my grandmother. Someone who would smile not with tolerance, but with warmth. I welcomed her with open arms. I bought her small gifts. A silver necklace that had belonged to my mother. It was not expensive. But it carried generations of memory. She thanked me politely and placed it inside her purse. I never saw her wear it again. At first I told myself she was just young, modern. Different from me. I am a woman shaped by patience. She was a woman shaped by speed. I believed differences could live inside family. So I ignored the first small wounds. The rolled eyes when I told stories about teaching during heavy snow years ago. The way she yawned deliberately when I spoke about my classroom memories. The casual comment that my old china was outdated and tacky. The laughter when I showed her my grandmother's stew recipe. Nobody eats food like this anymore, she said. Then she added more salt to the pot just to prove her independence. My son chuckled, he loved her. And I love my son more than my pride. So I stayed quiet. Because mothers are taught many things. But one of the first lessons is that peace is worth more than winning small battles. I thought kindness would teach her kindness. I thought generosity would invite gratitude. I was wrong. Arrogance does not bend toward gratitude. It grows stronger in silence. The bank letter arrived on a Tuesday. Plain white envelope. Nothing dramatic. Just another document sitting between and grocery receipts. I opened it while sitting at my kitchen table. My glasses were slightly low on my nose the way they always were when I read serious papers. I expected a routine statement. What I saw instead made my stomach tighten. Several $1,000s transferred out of my account. Moved to an unfamiliar recipient. I read it once. Then again. Mine a third time. My hands were very still. I have spent decades managing my own money. I do not gamble. I do not spend impulsively. I track every pension payment. Every saving. Every small security I built for my old age. That money was not just numbers, it was independence. It was safety. It was the last version of myself I could protect. I told myself it must be a bank error. Hope is a strange reflex. Even when truth stands in front of you, hope tries to soften the blow. I called the bank. My voice was polite, almost apologetic, as if I were afraid of disturbing someone else's work. The woman on the phone spoke calmly. "No mistake, ma'am. The transfer was authorized." My chest felt strangely hollow. "Do you recognize the recipient name?" She read it, my daughter-in-law's name. The world became very quiet. Not physically quiet. The refrigerator still hummed. A car passed outside. But inside my chest, something closed. I hung up slowly. I sat in the kitchen for a long time. I wanted to believe she had borrowed the money. Maybe she needed help. Maybe she planned to return it. But my memory is not fragile. I waited. Days passed. Then more transfers appeared. Larger amounts, thousands more. Funneled out like water draining from a broken container. I printed every statement. Laid them on the table like evidence I was afraid to touch. Then I went to her. She was sitting on the living room sofa scrolling through her phone. One leg tucked under her body in the casual way she always sat when she believed she owned the space. I placed the papers in front of her. And spoke very carefully. "I need to ask you why my accounts show your name." She glanced down. Then smiled. "Oh that," she said lightly. As if I were asking about a missing spoon. "We talked about this. You said you wanted me to manage things for you. Remember?" My throat tightened. I had never said that, not once. She shrugged. "Well, I'm just trying to help. You're not exactly keeping up with everything, are you?" "It's better this way." The room tilted slightly. I felt something inside me shift. Not anger yet. Something colder. Something sharper. The woman in front of me was not family. She was a predator wearing the costume of family. And in that moment, I understood something painful and clear. My silence had taught her I was weak. My patience had taught her I would endure anything to keep peace. My love had been interpreted as permission. That night, I did not sleep. I sat at my kitchen table watching the bank statements spread like cards nobody wanted to play. I thought about my classroom. About children who were loud and uncontrollable until they learned boundaries. Children need structure. So do adults. I realized I had failed to teach her that. Enough. The word rose inside me quietly, not loudly, not dramatically, but steadily. Like the younger woman I once was when I walked into classrooms filled with chaos and commanded order with nothing but presence. She had never left me. She was simply waiting. And that was when I decided I would not die quietly inside my own life. The house felt different after that night. Not loud, not dramatic, but heavy in a way silence sometimes becomes when it is no longer protecting you. I moved slowly through my morning routine. Boiled water. Prepared tea. Sat by the window watching sunlight spread across the neighbor's garden. I thought about the woman who now lived inside my house, but believed she was slowly owning my future. She had grown bolder after the bank transfers. Confidence is strange when it belongs to someone who thinks they are winning. She began leaving shopping bags around the house. High-end brands. Leather purses that probably cost more than my first used car when I was young and working 2 jobs. Shoes still inside boxes. Perfume bottles lined neatly on the bathroom shelf like trophies, displayed after victory. At first she hid receipts inside her purse. Then she stopped hiding them. Arrogance does not believe in consequences. It believes silence is surrender. She hummed sometimes while unpacking new purchases. Not a song. Just soft meaningless sound. Like someone enjoying power without needing words. My son noticed nothing. He came home late from work most nights. Tired, eyes heavy. He believed her when she said she was successful at managing family finances. Love is blind in ways that even mothers cannot fully cure. I wanted to speak to him. But I knew confrontation without proof would turn truth into conflict. So I waited. Waiting is not passive when it is strategic, it is preparation. I visited the bank alone wearing my plain gray coat. The kind I used to wear when meeting parents during school conferences. Neat, quiet, polite. People underestimate women who look organized but unremarkable. I asked to see the manager. I placed the statements on his desk. Explained the transfers calmly. He frowned. Shuffled papers, looked again, then nodded slowly. Fraud. The word was spoken without drama, but it carried weight. We closed every account she had access to. Opened new ones with security layers she could not bypass. Paper statements only, no digital access. Passwords I memorized but never wrote down. When I stepped outside the bank building, I felt something inside my chest expand. Like lungs remembering how breathing should feel. The second step was evidence. My lawyer was the father of one of my former students. He remembered me. Invited me into his small office filled with old books and legal documents. I showed him everything. Transfers, account records, notes I made about her purchases, even receipts I found inside trash bins where she carelessly discarded them. He leaned back in his chair and whistled softly. "You've got her cold," he said. Those words were not cruel. They were confirmation. He copied every document. Logged them into legal files. Explained that fraud is not gray. It is black and white when financial authority is taken without consent. I built my own binder too, a private archive. Every statement, every observation, every small behavior that supported the truth. The way she flaunted purchases. The way she spoke about future plans for my house. The way she said, "For now." When I reminded her the house was still legally mine. For now. Those two words were sharper than insults. Because they carried certainty of planned replacement. Meanwhile, I played my role inside the house. I let her believe I was defeated. When she spoke about her new shoes, I smiled faintly as if distracted. When she spoke about repainting walls, I nodded absently. Arrogance hates resistance but loves the illusion of victory. And she believed my silence meant surrender. She did not notice the new binder inside my drawer. She did not notice how carefully I was collecting her behavior. She did not notice the fire growing quietly behind patience. Every day I grew stronger. Not louder. Not angrier, stronger. Age teaches patience in ways youth rarely understands. Youth often believes strength is noise. Old age knows strength is timing. She thought my years had weakened me. She was about to learn they had sharpened me. The turning point came at the grocery store again. The same place where she first insulted me. The air smelled like apples in plastic packaging. She reached into her purse confidently. Pulled out my card. The one she believed still gave her control. She handed it to the cashier. The machine beeped. Then beeped again, declined. The sound was small. But it carried weight. Her eyes moved sharply toward me. "What did you do?" she hissed quietly. Venom hidden inside panic. I did not react. Slowly, I opened my purse. Pulled out the envelope I had prepared weeks earlier. Placed it on the counter between us. Inside were copies of every transfer. Every statement bearing her name. The cashier's eyebrows lifted slightly. But she pretended not to hear. People in public spaces often choose silence when truth becomes uncomfortable. "You've been stealing from me," I said calmly. The word stealing replaced hanaging. Replaced family kindness. Her face changed color. First pale, then red. "That's ridiculous. You told me." I raised one hand, not loudly. "I told the bank. I told my lawyer. I told the fraud department. They all agree." Her mouth opened and closed like a fish pulled from water. She tried again. "You don't understand how hard things are for us." My voice stayed steady. "What was it you were doing then? Just draining the savings I worked my whole life for. Just mocking me in public. Just deciding my house was already yours." People nearby were pretending to inspect fruit. But they were listening. Humans are naturally drawn to confrontation when happens safely around them. She whispered harshly. "You are making a scene." I folded the papers slowly. "No," I said. "You made the scene. I am ending it." She lunged toward the envelope. I pulled it back and placed it inside my purse. "Copies," I said. "The originals are with my lawyer, the bank and the police if necessary." Her voice broke. "You can't do this to me." I leaned closer. Close enough only she could hear. "You were right once," I said quietly. "I don't need money I cannot trust. But you will need to explain to police why you thought my life belonged to you." Her body stiffened. fury mixed with fear inside her eyes. For the first time, she had no words. I turned, walked out slowly. Behind me, I felt anger burning from her like heat from an open fire. But it no longer touched me. Silence had been my prison. Now silence was my weapon. In the days after, the house felt different, calmer, not suffocating, chosen calm. My accounts were secured. My lawyer prepared the case. The woman who believed she could erase me was now facing reality. My son struggled with truth. Love blinds people in complicated ways. I told him only one thing. A marriage can survive many hardships. But it cannot survive dishonesty. You must decide whether you want truth or illusion. That decision belonged to him, not to me. I felt no shame. And that was the greatest freedom. For years I had carried guilt as if her theft was somehow my fault, as if my age, my trust, my silence, had invited betrayal. But wrongdoing belongs to the wrongdoer. My years did not make me weak, they made me unafraid. I began enjoying small things again. Tea tasted real. Air felt lighter when I walked in the park. Margaret visited often, and we laughed quietly like women reclaiming something stolen long ago. I pulled out my grandmother's china for Sunday dinner, set it proudly on the table. Tradition, dignity, all still mine. Sometimes I remember her words in the grocery store. That old woman doesn't need money anyway. It no longer hurts. It makes me smile. Because I know truth now. I am not disposable. I am not irrelevant. I am a woman who has lived, endured, and risen. And when I look into the mirror, I no longer see the hunched, wary figure I once feared becoming. I see someone sharpened by years, tempered by storms, unbroken by betrayal. Age did not make me frail. It made me fearless. Because we have already survived more than they imagine. The storm came sooner than I expected. Justice does not always move slowly. Sometimes it arrives quietly, wearing the clothing of paperwork and legal certainty. The police investigation began after the bank's fraud report was filed. My lawyer handled most of the communication. I stayed inside my house and continued living my chosen calm. She grew restless. Arrogance feels comfortable only when it believes and is invisible. When scrutiny appears, arrogance becomes panic, wearing anger as a mask. Shopping bags stopped appearing on the couch. Perfume bottles were removed from the bathroom shelf. The humming stopped. Instead, I heard her pacing sometimes at night. Footsteps moving slowly across the floor above my bedroom. Waiting, thinking. Fear is loud inside people who believe they are about to lose control. My son finally came to me one evening. His eyes were tired, not angry, just confused. He said he loved her. He said marriage is a promise. I placed my hand gently on his. Love is not blind, I told him. People choose blindness because truth is harder. He did not respond immediately. He was torn between loyalty and evidence. I did not force him. Children must sometimes walk their own roads to understanding. 2 weeks later, the police arrived at our house. She was not handcuffed. Not yet, but her face had lost its confident color. They asked her questions in the living room. She tried explaining. She said I had allowed her access. She said I was forgetful. She said I had wanted her to manage family money. The investigator listened silently, then placed the documents on the table. Each transfer, each authorization record, each digital signature trace. Fraud is not measured by emotion. It is measured by proof. Her story collapsed slowly under the weight of records. The investigator spoke politely but firmly. Unauthorized financial control over an elderly person is a serious crime. The house felt very still when she heard that. For the first time since I met her, her arrogance disappeared completely. Fear replaced it. Real fear. The kind that lives inside people when they realize consequences are no longer theoretical. My son sat beside her but did not speak. He looked at me once. I saw pain in his eyes. Not hatred, not anger, pain. Because love and truth were tearing him in two directions. Later that night, he came to my room. He said only one sentence. I think I married a stranger. I did not speak immediately. I let silence carry the weight of that realization. Then I said, sometimes love people we do not truly know. He cried quietly. Not loudly. Men are often taught that tears are weakness. But tears are simply honesty escaping the body. The legal process moved forward. She was charged. I did not attend the interrogation. I did not watch her breakdown. Justice does not require witnessing suffering. Justice requires truth. The house eventually became quieter. She moved out under legal supervision while the investigation continued. The shopping bags were gone. The humming was gone. Only memory remained. Months passed. The court confirmed financial fraud. Restitution was ordered. Some money was recovered. Not all, but enough to restore stability. She received legal punishment appropriate to the law. I never spoke to her again. Not out of hatred, but because some stories end when truth speaks. My son decided to stay separated from her during the legal proceedings. It was his decision. I told him I would always be his mother, but I would not carry his marriage decisions. That belongs to his heart. Healing is not loud. It happens quietly inside ordinary days. I returned to teaching part-time at a community center. Children still listen when I spoke. They always do when presence carries patience. Sometimes I told them stories about storms and trees. How strong trees are not those that never bend, but those whose roots are deep enough to survive wind. Margaret and I sat in the park often, laughing about small things. Age does not steal joy unless we allow it. One afternoon, I found my grandmother's china again and used it for tea with friends. The pattern on the cups felt warm beneath my fingers. History does not disappear because time passes. It lives inside objects we touch with love. Sometimes I remember the grocery store. That sentence, "That old woman doesn't need money anyway." It used to be poison inside my chest. Now it feels small. Because I learned something fundamental. People who speak like that are not measuring my worth, they are revealing their own. I am 68 years old. Retired teacher, widow mother, survivor of betrayal, and I stand in my hallway mirror sometimes and straighten my shoulders. I see wrinkles, yes. Time leaves marks. But I also see eyes that have watched children learn to read, survive winters, grow into adults, and make their own choices. I see hands that fed, taught, and fought silently when necessary. Strength is not absence of fear. Strength is walking forward despite it. My daughter-in-law became a legal memory, not hatred. Not victory, just history. My son visits me, sometimes alone. Sometimes with hesitation in his voice. We drink tea, we talk about simple things. He is still learning what truth costs, and I do not judge him. Because love is complicated when it grows inside broken trust. As for me, I walk in the park with my head high. I greet neighbors without that hollow tightness inside my chest. I breathe freely. Because independence is not about money alone, it is about dignity. And I kept mine. So I leave this story with whoever is listening. They say age makes us frail. But I say age teaches us something far more dangerous to those who underestimate us. It teaches us patience. It teaches us silence. And it teaches us when to strike truth like a needle through arrogance. We have survived heartbreak. We have survived doubt. We have survived people who thought our years were weakness. But they were wrong. Every scar became armor. Every betrayal became wisdom. And every quiet morning became proof that we are still here. Unbroken, standing living. If you are young, remember this, respect age. Because age is not the fading of strength. It is the sharpening of survival. And if you are old, remember this even more. You are not disposable. You are not irrelevant. You are life that has already defeated storms others have not yet met. Tell me, when did you learn that your years were not your weakness but your armor? The answer is simple. You learned it the day you refused to break.